As I was going through all of the clips I had recorded for this series of videos on this restoration project, I was kind of disappointed to come to the realization that several of the clips where we reattached the neck, then leveled the fretboard and installed new frets had all been erased from the memory card on the camera. Probably something I did wrong, I'll admit it. So gluing the neck back on, that's pretty self-explanatory, and leveling the fretboard, again, not too much of a surprise there. I guess the only thing I'll point out is we did wind up putting a wedge of ebony under the extension over the body because we had to change the angle of the neck so much that if that wedge wasn't there, the fretboard would just dive down quite a bit and the action would have been pretty high in these last few positions. But I did want to take a couple minutes and talk about the frets on this guitar. This is an old instrument, and it had an old style of fret known as a bar fret. Current frets, the fret wire looks like this. Not sure how well that'll show up, but it's T-shaped in cross-section, and then on the part that goes down into the fret slot, there are these tiny nibs that grip the fret wire into the slot. It's fairly easy, at least now that I've done I don't know, 500 or 600 fret jobs, it's fairly easy to install this kind of fret wire. The fret wire on the old Martin guitar and every other guitar from that period of time, since metal frets were first invented, it's known as bar fret. It's just straight up and down in cross section. There is no T to be seen. There are no nibs to grab the fret wire into the slot, and it's also roughly twice the width of the slot that's necessary for the newer stock. So the way bar frets get installed, I got this several different widths from T.J. Thompson. I think he's the guy everybody goes to for bar stock. The widths that I bought were anywhere from 47 to 55 thousandths of an inch. The frets that had been on this guitar, a lot of them had fallen out because of, I imagine, dryness and shrinkage of the ebony. So the way you do bar frets is pretty tricky. You have to find just the right width that you get a good firm grip in the slot, but if you put in fret wire that's too wide, you induce a back bow into the neck, and then two things could happen. One, when you go to level it, if you have a severe back bow, then in the middle of the fretboard, where the crown of the back bow would be, as you level the frets, you grind these middle ones down to virtually nothing, which is not good. If you used a short leveling stone, you wouldn't grind them down all the way, but what would happen when you strung up the guitar is you'd get a lot of fret buzz in the middle area because you've got this bow. When I did these frets the first time around, the first one of those options happened. I used fret wire that was a little too thick and induced a back bow. Then when I went to level it, the middle frets were just down to nubbins. I mean, they were not usable. So I had to pop those frets out, pop out, more like struggle to get them out without ruining the fretboard, and replace them with a slightly thinner fret wire. I should also point out that in addition to the standard widths that I bought, on a lot of these slots, I wound up having to file down the fret wire to some intermediate size, like maybe 51 thousandths wasn't quite narrow enough, but 50 thousandths was too narrow, so I'd have to just file and sand the fret wire to get it exactly the right fit in the slot. And I had never done a fret job on bar frets before. I really don't hope to ever do one again. But just got an old junker here. The way the fret wire goes in is pretty similar. I mean, you know, I would find the right width. I'm going to use this one because it's closer. I would find the right width and tap the fret wire in. The other tricky thing with bar frets is, because I'm used to the T-shaped frets, with bar frets there is no stopping point. With the T frets, you get to the cap of the mushroom, I guess I'd call it, and the fret wire won't go in any farther because it's stopped by the profile of the fret wire. Whereas with bar frets, they'll just keep sinking farther and farther in, and you're completely dependent on the depth of the slot. So if a slot was cut too deeply or cleaned out too deeply when it's a refitting, that fret wire goes in farther than maybe its neighbors on either side. So it's a very tricky process, and as I said, I don't really relish it, and I'll be fine if I never do another bar fret job. Took many, many hours to get the frets in, and then to replace the ones that were too thick, to replace those with thinner ones, and induce just enough back bow to offset the string tension, because obviously there's no truss rod in this guitar either. Anyway, it was a big project, and I'm sad that I lost the video on it, but for those of you who have never seen bar frets before, but maybe heard the term, now you at least have some sense of what they look like.